All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about something that's, well, it's the lifeblood of any business with inventory, processing receipts in Microsoft Dynamics NAV. We're going to break down an excellent blog post from NAV expert Olaf Simran and really unpack the 4 main ways to handle it, so you can be sure you're using the right one for your business.
It seems like a pretty simple question, right? But believe me, the answer can have huge ripple effects across your entire company. You get the receiving process right, and your inventory is available faster, it's more accurate, it's just smooth sailing. But a clunky process? Oh man, that's just a recipe for bottlenecks, errors, and a whole lot of headaches.
So, how do you get it right? Well, one of the best things about Dynamics NAV is that it's not a one-size-fits-all system. It gives you options. To be specific, it gives you 4 of them, and each one is really tailored for a different kind of warehouse operation, from the super simple to the really complex.
So we're going to walk through these 4 paths, starting with the most basic and working our way up. And the most important thing to remember is that this choice, this whole setup, it's all configured right there on the location card in NAV.
And this is where the magic really happens. Just by using these 2 little checkboxes, require receive and require put away, you can set up completely different processes for different warehouses. I mean, think about it. Your huge distribution center might need that complex 2-step process, while a small satellite shop can use the simplest method possible. That's some serious power and flexibility right there.
Okay, let's kick things off with the first 2 options. We can kind of group these together as the direct methods. And just like the name says, they're simple, they're straightforward, and honestly, they're often the perfect fit if your warehouse operations aren't too complicated.
So, method 1. This is about as direct as it gets. You're literally working right on the source document, the purchase order, a sales return, a transfer order, you name it. There are no extra documents, no extra steps, just you and the order.
And yeah, the process is just as simple as it sounds. Somebody opens up the order, they punch in how many items they got in the quantity to receive field, and they hit post. Boom, done. The items are in your inventory. Super simple, right? But, and this is a big but, that simplicity comes at a price.
On the plus side, it's really fast. And it's actually the only way you can receive non-inventory stuff that you expense to a GL account, like shipping boxes or tape. But whoa, you gotta look at these cons. The person doing the receiving has full access to the order. They could accidentally change a price. Plus, if you use bins, you can only put an entire line item into one single bin, no splitting it up.
Okay, so that leads us right into method 2, which introduces a whole new document to fix some of those problems, the inventory put away. And this one is all about giving a receiving team their own, much safer playground to work in. And the biggest difference you'll see is that the user never even touches the original purchase order. They do all their work inside the separate inventory put away document. It's a fantastic way to enforce what accountants love to call separation of duties. The folks buying the stuff are separate from the folks receiving it.
So the pros here are pretty obvious, right? It's way safer, and the interface is simpler for the warehouse team. And you get this great new trick. You can use the split line function to put one order line away into a bunch of different bins. But here's the massive catch. You cannot assign your own lot or serial numbers when you receive the items. And as Olaf points out, for a lot of companies, that's a total deal breaker.
All right, so those were the direct methods. Now let's level up. The next 2 methods are what we call the warehouse methods. These are built for more serious, dedicated warehouse environments, where you need more control, you need to separate your processes, and you need to be able to scale up.
And that brings us to method 3, using a warehouse receipt. Olaf mentions in his article that this is the one he sees most often out in the wild, and for a really good reason. It kind of takes the best of what we've seen so far and adds a real game changer.
Now the workflow might look familiar at first, but hang on. Look at step 2. You can pull in lines from multiple different orders all onto one single warehouse receipt. Just imagine, a truck pulls up with goods from 3 different purchase orders. With this method, your team handles all of it, all at once, on one screen. I mean, talk about a huge win for efficiency.
The pros here are absolutely massive. You can receive from multiple orders at once, and this is the big one. You get back the full ability to assign your own lot and serial numbers right then and there. Now, the con here isn't so much a downside as it is a really, really good piece of advice from Olaf. Create these receipts when the truck shows up, not way in advance. Otherwise, you end up with a messy, confusing list of open receipts. All right, buckle up for the last one, method 4. This is the big one. We're using a warehouse receipt plus a warehouse put away. This is a true 2-step process that completely separates the job of receiving from the job of putting things away. So what's the big idea here? It's all about separating those two key jobs. Step 1, the warehouse receipt confirms the truck has arrived and puts the goods in a temporary receiving area. Step 2, the system creates a totally separate warehouse put-away document which tells another worker, hey, go move this stuff from receiving to its final home in the warehouse. This is perfect if you have dedicated teams or if you need to do quality control checks or repackage things before they go on the shelf.
Whew. Okay, we have gone through a lot. 4 totally different methods, each with its own workflow, its own pros, and its own cons. So, which one is for you? Let's put them all head-to-head and make this decision super clear.
This table right here, this pretty much sums it all up. If you've got simple needs or you're handling GL items, Method 1 is your go-to. If you want a safer process and don't care about lot numbers, Method 2 is a solid choice. Method 3, the warehouse receipt, that's really the powerful sweet spot for most businesses. You get multiple orders and full item tracking. And Method 4, that's your heavy-duty, scalable solution for advanced warehouse management.
Okay, before we wrap this up, I've got one last, really important piece of advice that comes straight from the source, plus a quick peek at what comes next.
You know, it's worth pointing out that once you step into these more advanced warehouse methods, you unlock some seriously cool new tools. You can start using things like directed put away and pick, where the system actually tells your workers the best place to store an item. Or even cross-docking, which is amazing. That's when goods come off the receiving truck and go straight onto the shipping truck without ever being stored.
But with all that cool, advanced power comes the single most important piece of advice in this whole explainer. And Olaf Simran says it perfectly. Be careful to not choose an option for processing receipts that is more advanced than necessary. The goal here isn't to use the fanciest tool. It's to match the complexity of the tool to the reality of your business. So I'll leave you with this final thought to take back to your own team. Now that you've seen these 4 clear paths, take a really honest look at your own receiving process. Is it a perfect fit for what you actually need, or is it possible you've accidentally over-engineered the whole thing? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.